Dating app texting breakdown. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down some of my text messages with girls and some of Max's. We have 3 girls over here, and I'm going to be showing you what we did to sleep with these girls. So some of these girls Max slept with, some of them I slept with. As you can see, the results are here. And I'll be showing you what we said to each of these girls and how we did it. So let's get straight into it. So starting off with section 1, a bit of a bitch, Alex. It's a 22-year-old that I met myself and slept with her. She was good and she was a decent looking girl, as you can see over here. Here is the conversation. So we started off by saying, do you know what you remind me of, Alex? So this is a opener that demands a response, right? So we're going to put DR for demands a response. When I send this to a girl, she wants to know what I remind her of, and she says, go on. So what we say to her is, a cigarette. I'll say I quit every single time, but every night out, I end up with them. So what we have done here is we've pretty much compared her to a object, and we have said to her that she's addictive, which is an indirect form of validation, and it suggests that we can't get away from her because she's a good night of sex. We have compared her to a cigarette. Anyway, she says, is that so? What does this show? This shows that she's a bit of a bitch with low interest. I'm going to show you how you convert a girl that is low interest. So then what we say to her, that's the impression I got, means you're addictive. So what this means is we're now trying to validate her indirectly, because with girls that are a bit of a you want to do indirect validation, because eventually when you cut the validation away, which you'll see later in this conversation, they will chase you. Now she says, I mean, I do think I am, which shows that she is obviously approving herself and validating herself. And this is where the games begin. Now she says, you would never forget about me or the headache I would give you after. Now this is her playing into that frame again that we set up for her of her being a good night of sex, which she was. You'll see as we go along. So this is a frame playing. She's playing into our frame. Now over here we say to her, is that so? And how would you give me this headache? Now she tries to steer the conversation from being sexual by saying, I will never shut up. So what we tried to do is sexually ascend her, and then she tried to steer the conversation back to being neutral. So what we do instead is, I could deal with the yapping, although I bet you could take my headaches away too. Now she tries to steer the conversation away again from sex by saying, probably with food, I'm a good cook. This is her trying to show that she is not the type of girl that is a whore. She was a whore. I can tell you now, she was a fucking whore in the bedroom. A lot of girls that are slags will fucking act like they're the God's gift, and they'll act like they're not. They are, okay? They are the absolute disgusting that they are, okay? So over here, this is her trying to steer away from the conversation. What we need to do is try to keep fucking frame, because that is a very important thing we need to do. If we don't, we lose status. This is high status maneuvering. Now we say to her and play into her frame for this key part of the conversation by saying, what's your favorite dish to cook? We will frame it and flip it back to sex very soon. We can't forget about it, because if we forget about it, again, we lose status. Now she starts talking about a dish and she says some few bollocks about chicken, chorizo, pasta and carbonara, burrito bowl, and anything really. Now I want you to see something here, and none of you would have guessed this. She said things that I specifically like, that I mentioned in my bio. I put in my bio the types of food I eat. She specifically went out of her way to say that. That shows that she went through my bio to specifically go out of her way to appeal to me. This is high interest. This is her trying to work for my approval. And then over here, I said, okay, saying all the things that I like, Alex, might have to wipe you off, might have to wife you up. So what we've done here is we've told her good girl, basically, indirectly, without saying it in bold words, you know what I want. And she says, you might have to wife me up. This is her pretty much trying to play into our frame again, and this is where we can twist the dynamic. And she says, you have to take me on a date first though. So this girl, as you can see, is a super bitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and manipulate her frame by holding on to it a little bit. A lot of guys don't understand, when a girl is a bitch, you can't just change her. You have to fucking work with her a little bit and meet her down the middle. So what we did is we played a little bit of a joke with her and we challenged her. We said to her, so you know your worth. And over here she says, you need to wine and dine me first. Now notice this. She didn't say that you need to spend money on me. She didn't say you need to spoil me. She's asking for a normal request from a guy like me. She's asking for a guy like me to take her out for dinner and give her a few drinks, and then I'll afterwards, which is what I did. Completely normal. When I go on dates with girls, I pay for the drinks because I have fucking 2 balls between my legs. If you obviously are younger, then yeah, I don't expect you to do that. But if you're 25 plus or whatever, you should really be paying for the first round of drinks with girls. Unless they're late. If they show up late, then don't. So we say over here, don't worry, I know how to treat a girl right, princess treatment. And of course, what we're doing here is we're playing into a fantasy frame, and we're trying to delude her into thinking that we're going to fucking give her what she wants. Now she sees right through it and she says, I'll believe it when I see it. Now this isn't all that bad. This is her basically saying, I've been around the block, I'm a because I know guys lie to me all the time. So what we did over here is we played a bold frame by saying talk is cheap, I'll prove it with flowers in the passenger seat. So obviously what we're doing is we're setting up a promise. When you set a promise up, she wants to live out and see it. If I promise you that something will happen, you're going to sit there and you're going to wait and see whether it happens or not. Now over here she says, good, so where are you taking me? Now this is showing action. This is showing that she wants to have the date happen. Now we say to her, I'll take you to Sexy Fish, of course. Now, of course, there's some pictures of me at Sexy Fish, so of course I had to say that. And she says, yay, I'm excited. I did not take her to Sexy Fish. I lied to her. You know what I actually did? I fucking told her that I know the owner of Sexy Fish and I can get an emergency reservation. I went into the fucking Sexy Fish and they were like, we're fully booked up. And I looked around and I was just like, yeah, unfortunately they're fully booked up. Do you want to just go make cocktails back at my place? Easy. See, I didn't even have to spend any real fucking money on her. If you know how to play these things off, it's that easy. Now, if you actually want to learn how I pulled that strategy off in depth, let me know down below in the comments. I'll probably actually film a video of me in my car with a girl. I've got a special dash cam. So yeah. Let's continue. Now he said to, you'll be my passenger princess, then my backseat. After she says, let's take a step back here, mister. I'm not that type of girl. She absolutely was. If you saw the things she did in the back of my car, it was crazy. You'll see some pictures after. Now we say to her, we'll see how we vibe first and then go from there. So we're pretty much just trying to steer away from the sexual conversation because the sexual ascension with girls like this who've been around the block is very hard to do. And she says, yeah, no lucky getting on the first date. Yeah, sure. You know, you'll see what happened after. And we say to her, I'm looking for something long-term regardless. And we're just basically trying to get her on the date. Think of it like fucking sales, bro. You can't sell the fucking client across emails, bro. That is the dumbest thing in the world. You can't do it. You got to get the guy on a call, bro. You got to get the guy on your WhatsApp. Because once you do that, it is much, much easier to talk to them. On Tinder, you're on a playing field where she is able to fucking say no, she's able to push away, she's able to fucking say things, and you can't do anything about it. Whereas on a date, she's going to feel submissive to you. Now, I know I just said that she can't say no on a date. She absolutely can. She can walk away. You're not going to fucking force her, are you? But the fucking ability to persuade someone in person is much higher. The ability to charm someone in person is much higher. So with girls like this, you just have to bring them on a date in person. Now over here she says, good, I want the same thing. Now deep down, this girl knew I was going to fuck her and leave her. Think about it. Have you seen my fucking pictures? This girl knows I'm not going to stay with her. She knows it. Bro, the life I live, she really thinks I'm going to settle for her. If you've seen the girls that I've actually spent my time with long term, she knows that. But she wants to try. These girls want to tame the guy that is wild. And that is exactly what she tried to do, and she failed. And we said we're compatible to her little relationship bollocks. And she says, time will tell, classic. She thinks she's fucking Yoda. And we said, indeed, we'll see when I take you to Sexy Fish. So we just fucking hinted her back at Sexy Fish, and she says, let's make it happen. Got her fucking number, blew her brains out. Here you go. And just to let you know, guys, you don't actually need to take these girls to Sexy Fish, bro. I think I've taken only the fucking hottest girls that I've met to Sexy Fish because I just wanted to feel like the man, bro. But bro, most girls like her licks. I would not take her to Sexy Fish, bro. There is just no point, bro. So now we're going to move on to section 2, Georgia. All right. So this is a girl, Max Matt. She's 20 years old, dirty blonde, British girl. She's a bit of a slag. She's from Liverpool and she's 16 miles away. So this is what Max said to her to start off with. Looks like you have found your gym partner, Georgia. The reason why we said this is because in her bio, it said that she was looking for someone to go to the gym with together. This frames Max as the perfect match for her. And it also hints at the idea that they can be a happy, lovely couple. Now she says, perfect, when do we start? Now obviously this shows that she has high interest in wanting to meet. So that suggests that we can actually press for the date sooner. So that's what exactly we're going to do. Now we said to her, tomorrow you'll take me through your leg day plus cardio at home. So we're hinting pretty much sex as well here through the cardio. And then we're not only just talking about the sex as well, we're also making a fast movement towards the actual date, as you can see here. And she says, leg day, I can do. Now, obviously, she's kind of pushing away from the cardio sexual maneuver, but she hasn't fully objected to it, right? Now, over here, we said to her, you may be shaking after. Now, obviously, this is a playful way to suggest that something sexual will happen, and we're not letting her drop the frame because you need to maintain control. When a girl says something like this, they're testing you to see whether you stick to your word. So you have to just push against it. Now, she says, how about we start with you telling me how to pronounce your name? Got to get that right first. So obviously, this is her trying to change the conversation, but again, she isn't saying no. So there is no objection here. Now, She also asks about the name as well because it shows that she has high interest. As you can see here, a triple text. This shows to you that she has high interest, and it shows that she is actually interested and invested in using our name. A lot of people use the name strategy to show that they want to be with someone or they like someone. So here is what Max says to her. He says to her, it's pronounced as Maximus. Now that isn't Max's actual name, but just to play on the Tinder, it was just obviously a nice little cute thing to do for the girls or whatever. You know, they think, oh, it's a cute name or whatever. Bullshit, right? Just that's the one takeaway. Lie to them about your name. Never tell them your real name, especially when you're a guy that's sleeping with a lot of women. Anyway, she says, we say to her, hope you can get that right. And she says, I think I can manage. So what does that show you? It shows that she's qualifying herself. And that is a very important sign that she wants to be with us, right? It's a sign that she wants to and date Max. A lot of guys will think, well, you know, what is this? This is a boring conversation. It's only one text message. You can't do much of this. She's literally trying to win your approval over. That is probably the best thing you can ask for a girl in these days, bro. They're retarded. Now, of course, we say to her, well, that is the first step. Now, obviously, Max made a few mistakes, kind of lost him a bit of status because he had to send us triple text, but it's no big deal. It's just, you know, minor things. Now over here we said, pretty sure I'll have no issue pronouncing yours. We're pretty much saying to her, your name is piss easy to pronounce, however you will struggle to pronounce ours. Now she says, unless I can make you stutter. Now this is a sexual ascension point. See, after all of the work we did here with the sexual elements and energy, she finally returns back to the energy of sexuality. That is what happens when you return your frame. Every single girl will steer her back towards sex, so long as you hold frame, which is exactly what we did. So that is a key takeaway here. Frame. I want you to all understand. Frame is very important. That is how you win your conversations over. So what we say to her over here is, I like to see you try. You'll be breathless first. And then as you can see in the next screenshot, she says, sure, don't underestimate me. So what we've done now is we've challenged her into a sexual focus point. We said to her, if you make my toes curl, I might fall in love with you. So what are we doing? We're making indirect hints towards sex. Why? We don't want to straight up boldly talk about sex just yet. The energy isn't there yet. So because of that, we can't do that yet. So what we're doing is we're trying to build into it slowly. And she says, piece of cake. What does this show? High interest again, because she is falling into the frame, which means now we can ascend her a little bit harder. So what we're going to do now is ask her, is my good girl going to tell me how? So we're pretty much going to try and figure out how she wants to sexually please us. Now over here, she says, I'm not a good girl, so you have to find out. What does that suggest? Well, if you have any experience with girls and you're in the bedroom, she's a brat. And a lot of girls are bratty. That's completely normal. A lot of the girls you'll come across on Tinder, as you can see here, are very bratty girls. Look at this girl over here. She's literally saying, depends how I feel about someone, I'll get on my knees for you. Some bullshit, right? A lot of girls are brats. That's just how the world is, right? It's just a sexuality thing. And then what we did here is we showed her competence. We said to her, well, bad girls get punished, Georgia. So why is competence such an important thing here? Because a lot of guys will see this and they'll be afraid, or they'll get pushed away from the fact that this girl is being a brat. They'll think this girl is being a bitch. She's not being a bitch. It's just her sexuality to be a fucking brat. And as a dominant man, you have to put her in her place. And we're showing her that we're capable of that, saying that she will get punished. So here's what comes next. She says, maybe that's why I'm a bad girl, right? She says something probably a little bit more inappropriate. I can't really explain that to you. And what we say over here to her next is pretty much a playoff from this message. What is this? This is her being her bratty side. This is when the conversation will evolve. So what we could talk about in this scenario is daddy roleplay punishing her good girl or bad girl in this scenario, right? Because she's a brat. And what we need to do is emulate daddy energy punishing his sons, okay? Because girls are into a guy that is able to punish them and put them in their place. And if you can do that, these types of girls will fall in love with you. So here's what we say next. Well, daddy will come and choke you hard and manhandle you. This is showing high daddy energy. So we're going to abbreviate this as DE, daddy energy, okay? And she says, exactly, glad you get it. What does this show? It shows confirmation. It's a good sign that this is working. Daddy energy is what we need. Not good boy energy, not soft boy energy, a guy who knows how to pound a girl right on the weekend and put her in her place. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to push further. We're going to say, of course, how rough do you want it? What we're doing is we're playing into the daddy energy. We're just ascending her. Now, what we say here is, want me to make you awesome. We're just playing in harder. This is how you ascend it. She says, depends how you intend to do it. So what I said to her here was something very extreme. So this word, as you can imagine, what it says is fudging, okay? We'll just go with that. And we said we're going to put something very deep down your throat so that mascara runs down your face. Now, this is an extreme sexual ascension. What we're doing is we're pushing through every single hurdle she sets up. What we're doing is we're evolving the conversation further. Now that we've ascended the conversation harder, here's what she says. Then yes, of course, she has pretty much just admitted to wanting to being rough. A lot of guys don't understand. Girls like rough sex. If you don't understand rough sex, then you're going to struggle in the bedroom. Girls don't want inexperienced guys that are good boys in the bedroom. If you don't know how to put your willy inside of a fucking girl, you're going to fuck up. Because you're going to look at the girl after you get her and say to her, where does this one go, please? And you're going to make her dry up and she's going to end up like a Sahara desert and your willy's not going to get hard. You need to understand that your pee-pee is fucking going to need some experience, which is why we have a playbook in regards to mastering sex. You can put a screenshot of that. Regardless, you should probably just watch some fucking videos on how to fucking fuck a girl on YouTube. If you don't want to talk to me about your sexual problems, that's fine. But just, guys, bare minimum, fucking learn some things about, using your fucking cock. Anyway, let's go. So what we said over here is, think you could take 8 inches. What is this showing? This is showing high status authority. Even if you're not 8 inches, do you really think a girl will know what 8 inches looks like? No. Even after she has been with several men and has been ran through, she will not know. She says, like I said, don't underestimate me. This is the challenging aspect of her trying to push against us, trying to get status, but it's just playful flirting. Now, we said to her, good, then I'll just pretty much fold you like a pretzel on my desk and then I would use you. We didn't actually use those words, but you can understand what it says here, okay? So what we're doing is we're setting a sexual fantasy. So we said to her, have you ever released an extreme orgasm? She says, nope. So what we say over here is an extreme sexual fantasy. What we're doing is we're telling her we're going to put her in a certain position that pets use. And then we said that we're going to put her on the side of the bed in a position for nuns, okay? You get the point. It starts with an M, ends with a Y. And we said to her, I want you to all over my genital area. All right. So what she says in response is, no one has ever made it before. What does this show? She's a brat because she is focusing on her pleasure, because she's saying no one's made me pleasure. And she says, what makes you think you're going to be the one? It's just a challenging aspect from her energy, right? She's trying to be a bratty girl. That is the whole folding dynamic of this conversation. And remember, 90% of the girls you will meet on Tinder and in dating or in the real world are bratty. Put simply, that is what submissive women are like. Now, over here we say, well, I've got experience to back it, babes, which suggests one thing, scarcity. How? Because it shows that we get bitches on our dick. Max is sleeping with girls. That's what it's suggesting. Now, over here we say, sounds like you've never had proper sexual intercourse. So what we're suggesting is we're the best, we're better than the rest, and that we have good sex. I should be a poet. Anyway, she says probably haven't. So she's saying that she hasn't gone through proper sex. What she's saying is, I want you to be the one. It's a sign of interest. Not high interest, just interest. Now over here she says, I'll make it up for it and make you orgasm over and over until we're both breathless. And then we say to her, are you on the pill so I can finish it? Of you. Okay, I can say that. That's fine. And she says, I hope that's a promise. And she says, I know I'm not. So what we're doing here is we're pretty much talking about having sex raw, and then we're also trying to make bold promises of something happening sexually. So it's a sex promise. So why are we making a sex promise? Well, pretty much it's encouraging the idea of sex and pushing towards it in a high interest dynamic. And then what we say to here is a promise I plan to keep as long as you keep up with me. So what we're doing is we're making a trade for trade. It is an eye for an eye. We're basically saying, if you can keep up with me, I will make you orgasm. Because most guys can't keep up with girls because they're obese and ugly and, they don't know how to have sex and they're losers. So what we did over here is we set equal standards of trading. So what does that mean? It means that we're pretty much saying she has to give something in order to gain something. So this is a simple setup. What we're saying to her is, if you keep up with us, we will keep up with you. What that means is simple and straightforward. If you can have good sex with me, I will have good sex with you. Most guys don't know how to have sex. Because like I said, they lack experience. They don't know what they're doing. And that is why most girls complain about the sex, like you can see over here. Your ex-girlfriend is probably telling me or the next guy she's about to sleep with that you're bad in the bedroom. That is just how the game is. So what comes next is we say to her that we'll wear protection. And then we say to her, unless you trust me, to be able to pull out, right? So what we're doing here is we're testing her interest to see how she will, respond to such an extreme request. Now she says over here, do you doubt that I can keep up? So this is her seeking validation. Why else would she ignore the points and try and seek validation? Well, she wants our approval. Now over here, we say to her, nobody has been able to yet, but maybe you can be the exception. What we're doing is we're giving her indirect validation. What we're setting up is a framework for her to chase our validation and for her to work for it. And she says, I assure you, I can handle you. This is pretty much her trying to flatter her ego. And in order to live up to her promise and ego, she now has to have sex with us. Max doesn't actually care whether she makes him finish or not, because Max will finish. It's natural. Men find it easy to finish. But she in her head now thinks she has to make him finish, and it's a hard thing to do. So what we say to her is, let's put it to the test, and she says, sounds good to me. And then we said, send me your number. This is a simple and straightforward close. As you can see, the number has been received. And we had to do a double text because we said to her, did I scare you off? Because she didn't respond within a few hours. She was responding quite fast. And then we basically just closed her as fast as humanly possible. Sometimes you have to do that. As you can see, the number was received. So as you can see, here's Max's result. Name on her thigh, some pictures of Max choking her, and some more pictures of Max and her together. So yeah, Max pretty much met her, clarted her. Simple as straightforward as that. That is how it works, and that is how it looks. So moving on from Georgia to Alea. This is section 3 from Bumble. A lot of guys have been asking about other apps. Here we go. This is a girl Max met. So I'll be breaking down what was said here. So she says, hello Max, love a well-read man. So Max had a nice little bio prompt with him reading this book. Kind of a crazy picture to put up on, the dating apps. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, let's continue. I always say, Max says to her, finally someone who can appreciate that. Validation. We have already validated her. Why did we validate her? Because she messaged first. We rewarded her. Have you read the fucking infamous Austrian painter book as well? And she says, my life story, okay? I can't say these words. It's a famous guy from fucking World War II, okay? And we say, no, the one in my profile. So she says, oh, sorry, thought you were talking about the book that he wrote. So again, she's clearly accepting the frame. Most girls don't really like guys that, do things like this. What does this show? This shows high interest. Because Max had some girls saying you're a disgusting guy, you're far right wing, you're racist or whatnot. Some girls don't like it, some do. It's very polarizing. And she says, I haven't read the book in your picture. Is it any good? Let's be honest, motherfuckers. She doesn't actually give a flying f about the book, bro. She's just acting interested for Max's sake. This is all high interest. And we say to her, it's pretty good, but you need a German sexy translator, right? So this is a sexual ascension. And over here she says, bigging yourself up there, Max, surely there's an English version, right? She's saying there's an English translation. She's challenging Max, but she said, is it better to have a German speaker by my side? Now she didn't oppose Max. Instead, she's challenging him. She wants Max to promise and prove something to her that makes it worth showing up. It's an incentive. Now we said I would highly recommend it. There's plenty of benefits as well. She says, okay, name one. This is her challenging him. And we say to her, romantic dates, cuddles, and you being a passenger princess, amongst other things. And she says, I like the sound of that, plus you can read, so you have a brain cell. This is her validating Max back. When a girl validates you, it's high interest, very high. And over here, she says that she also likes the sound of these things, suggesting she's interested in meeting. Now over here, we said, true, I have one at least. This is just, of course, us confirming that we accept her validation. We didn't straight up ignore it. Now over here, we say to her next, might have to show you off on our date with physical touch. We said arm around your waist. Now girls love that. And she says, I'm down for a date as well, which is just her moving with speed and action. So we say to her, perfect, I'm thinking cocktails. What are your thoughts on public display of affection and making out? I think it's hot. So what we're doing here is we're selling her a fantasy. Every girl's wet dream is to pretty much have public display of affection. And over here she's making out, sure, but I don't like stuff in public. I'm quite a private person. This shows that she's conservative. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that information and we're going to play around it. Now we say to her, I see, I get that, but who cares what other things? We just can't help ourselves, right? So what we're showing her is that we are bold and we are ambitious and that we have testosterone, because this is how guys should be acting. And as you can see, she says, I'm attracted to that. Hand holding is fine, but nothing too crazy. And she agrees to the frame, but she also says, I am a private person. We said we can keep the crazy stuff between us two, but it still shows that we're bold and we held our frame up. And she says we would have to meet first. And then obviously that's exactly what happens. And then Max ends up asking for a number and closes her, and you get the number. And this is the end result, as you can see over here. So there we have it. You now know how to text properly like me and Max to be able to get incredible results, just as I've shown you. Now, if you want to get texting done for you, or you want to learn how to text like me and Max, then you know where to find us. You know where to contact us. And like I said, if you don't know how to talk to me over WhatsApp or over text, I'll be honest with you, you're never going to be able to text a girl in your life, bro.